How are you guys doing? Today is Monday, April 11th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Sunday, April 10th. And of course, before I preview everything that's going on today, I'm going to take a quick step back so we can take a look at where we are in the calendar year. Yesterday was the last day of the NBA season, as 10 teams are officially done until later in the year. And the NBA play-in round is scheduled to start tomorrow. Taking a look at what's going on with baseball, we are still in the first week or so of the MLB season. Taking a look at what's going on overseas, we are through yet another weekend of domestic soccer. There's about a month left in those schedules. And not to mention that the hockey playoffs will, of course, start at the end of the month. But of course, with that said, I'm going to take a look at what happened in the last day of the 2021-22 NBA season. Starting off with what happened in Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Nets would host the Indiana Pacers. In their final game of the season, the Nets would beat the Pacers 134-126. They won this game by 8 points after outscoring the Pacers by 12 in the first. They were even up by 16 at half. On the losing end of this matchup, in their final game of the season, the Indiana Pacers were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Oshae Brissett. He finished with 28 points and 8 rebounds in 36 minutes. He shot 10 for 20, 5 for 10 from 3, and he would go on to shoot 3 for 4 from the foul line. This is, of course, their forward out of Syracuse. Their shooting guard, Buddy Hield, out of Oklahoma, would finish with 21 points, 6 assists, and 2 steals in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 23 from the field and 5 for 14 from 3. Their starting point guard, who started the season with the Sacramento Kings, Tyrese Haliburton, finished with 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 steals in 39 minutes. He shot 7 for 14 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and he made his only free throw. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Brooklyn Nets were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard out of Duke, Kyrie Irving. He finished with 35 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 15 for 20 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and he made one of his 2 free throws. Their starting small forward, Bruce Brown, out of Miami, finished with 21 points, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 blocks in 38 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field. He made one of his 2 3-pointers, and he shot 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Their goated starting power forward out of Texas, Kevin Durant, would finish with 20 points, 10 rebounds, 16 assists, and 6 turnovers in 41 minutes. He shot 5 for 17 from the field and made all 10 of his free throws. Their starting center, Andre Drummond, would finish with 20 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 20 minutes. He shot a perfect 9 for 9 from the field and made both of his free throws. With this win, the Brooklyn Nets are now 44-38 to finish their 21-22 season. They will go into the play-in round with the 7th seed, as their next matchup will be against the 8th seed Cleveland Cavaliers. And of course, with this loss, the Indiana Pacers are now 25-57. That is the 3rd worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they will go on to finish their season with a 10-game losing streak. They would finish with the longest active losing streak in the East, as the Portland Trail Blazers would actually finish with a longer losing streak. But as of right now, that is where these two teams are sitting. As the Pacer season is over, the Nets season they have to play their next game tomorrow against the Cavaliers, as their season could be over in the next couple days as well. Taking a look at what happened in Charlotte now, the Hornets would host the Washington Wizards. And in this matchup, Charlotte would end up beating the Washington 124-108. They won this game by 16 after outscoring the Wizards by 9 in the fourth quarter. They outscored the Wizards by 14 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Wizards were led in scoring by their starting power forward out of Gonzaga, Rui Hachimura. Their power forward out of Japan finished with 21 points in 32 minutes. He shot 9 for 19 from the field and made both of his free throws. The Wizards starting small forward, their rookie out of Gonzaga, Corey Kispert, finished with 20 points in 26 minutes. He shot 8 for 12 from the field and 4 for 8 from 3 in the Wizards' final game of the season. On the winning end of this matchup, the the hometown Charlotte Hornets were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard Terry Rozier. Rozier finished his season, he would go on to finish this matchup with 25 points and 6 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 10 for 18 from the field, and he would shoot 5 for 9 from 3. With this loss, the Hornets' elite starting point guard LaMelo Ball finished with 24 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, and 8 turnovers in 29 minutes. He shot 8 for 16 from the field, 6 for 7 from 3, and he made both of his free throws on the night. With this win, the Charlotte Hornets are 43-39. That is the 10th, or they are tied with the Atlanta Hawks for the 9th best record in the East. But they will go into the playoffs with the 10 seed in the East after they finish their season with a 3-game winning streak. They've won 6 of their last 10. But of course, they will go into the play-in round as their next matchup will be against the Atlanta Hawks. The Hornets are scheduled to face off against the Atlanta Hawks on Wednesday because that's when the 9-10 matchups are set. And with this loss, the Washington Wizards are 35-47. They will finish this season with the 4th worst record in the Eastern Conference. They lost their last 3 games to end their season. They lost 5 of their last 10 as they finished 8 games outside of the playoff or outside of the play-in picture, outside or behind the Charlotte Hornets. They sit alongside the Orlando Magic, the Detroit Pistons, the Indiana Pacers, and the New York Knicks is one of 5 teams that have failed to qualify for the playoffs in the East. As they will be looking forward to the lottery in the offseason this season, as they have no more games until later this year. Taking a look at what happened in Cleveland, the Cavaliers would host the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks. The Cavaliers would beat the Bucks 133-115. They would win this game by 18 as the Bucks would go on to sit Giannis and Chris Middleton. But the Cavs would win this game by 18 after they outscored the Bucks by 26 in the first. They were up by 33 at halftime, and on the losing end of this matchup, the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Sandro Mamu Kalashvili. Their forward out of Seton Hall will go on to finish with 28 points and 13 rebounds in 43 minutes. He shot 10 for 18 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and he made all 6 of his free throws on the night. The Bucks starting small forward, Thanasis Antetokounmpo, Giannis' brother, would finish with 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 turnovers in 41 minutes. He shot 9 for 14 from the field and 8 for 10 from the free throw line. The Bucks starting small forward out of Louisville, Jordan Nwora, finished with 24 points and 10 rebounds in 44 minutes. He shot 7 for 23 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and he made all 7 of his free throws. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Cleveland Cavaliers were led in scoring by their power forward off the bench and former champion Kevin Love. Love finished with 32 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 assists in 15 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 from the field, 8 for 11 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the foul line on the night. Their starting power forward, Lauri Markkanen, would finish with 23 points and 7 rebounds in 21 minutes. He shot 8 for 11 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and he made all 3 of his free throws. Their starting center and rookie Evan Mobley would finish with 18 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 blocks in 23 minutes in his final regular season game of his rookie season. He shot 8 for 13 from the field and 2 for 4 from the free throw line. The Cavaliers' all-star starting point guard, Darius Garland, would finish his first all-star season with 11 points, 2 rebounds, and 8 assists in 23 minutes. He shot 4 for 7 from the field and 3 for 5 from 3. With this win, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 44-38. They will finish their 2021-22 season tied with the Nets for the 7th best record in the East. Cavaliers finished their season winning 3 of their last 10. And because the Nets win the tiebreaker, they're going to be facing off against the Nets in Brooklyn tomorrow in the very first Eastern Conference play-in game. And of course, with this loss, and I guess with this win, they will finish their season sitting 9 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. With this loss, the Milwaukee Bucks will finish their 2021-22 regular season with a 51-31 record. They finished tied with the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers for the second best record in the entire conference, and they would, of course, finish tied for the sixth best record in the entire NBA. Bucks finished losing 4 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they would finish 2 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Heat, as they also finished 3 games ahead of the 5th place Toronto Raptors, just to see where they finished their season. Going into the playoffs, they will face off against the winner of the first play-in game between the Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers, so that's what they look forward to. And the Cavaliers, I guess, going back to them with this win, the winner of their next game will face off against the Bucks in the next round. So the Cavaliers still are alive for the next couple games. If they lose their next 2 games, they're out. Taking a look at what happened in Houston, the Houston Rockets would finish their season against the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks would beat the Rockets 130-114 to make sure that the Rockets would finish this season with the worst record in the NBA. The Hawks won this game by 16 after outscoring the Rockets by 14 in the first half, 11 in the first quarter alone. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Houston Rockets were led in scoring in their final game by their number 2 overall pick in last year's draft, Jalen Green. He finished with 41 points and 3 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 14 for 26 from the field, 4 for 11 from 3, and 9 for 11 from the free throw line. Their starting shooting guard, Kevin Porter Jr., would finish with 26 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists in 41 minutes. He shot 10 for 24 from the field and 6 for 12 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the Atlanta Hawks were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard, Trae Young. Trae Young would finish with 28 points, 5 rebounds, 11 assists, and 5 turnovers in 34 minutes. Trae Young would finish in his last game shooting 10 for 20 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Alongside this, Trae Young will be the second player in NBA history to lead the NBA in total points and total assists. This will come after he was the first player in NCAA history to lead all college players in points and assists, at least in the Power 5. So, of course, this would be the end of an incredible season for Trae Young, a virtuoso season. The Hawks starting power forward, Danilo Gallinari, would finish with 26 points in 32 minutes. He shot 9 for 14 from the field, 6 for 8 from 3, and he made both of his free throws. The Hawks starting small forward out of Virginia, DeAndre Hunter, finished with 22 points in 33 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field, a perfect 4 for 4 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the foul line. And then the Hawks starting center, Clint Capella, finished with 18 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 23 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field and made all 4 of his free throws. With this win, the Atlanta Hawks are 43-39. That is the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they finished tied with the Charlotte Hornets. Hawks finished their season winning 7 of their last 10, and because they own the tiebreaker with the Hornets, they will face off with the Hornets in the second Eastern Conference play-in game, which will be on Wednesday. The winner of that matchup will face off against the loser between the 7-seed Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers, as the Hawks finish their season 10 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. With this loss, the Houston Rockets season ends here with a 20-62 record. That was the worst record. It'll go down as the worst record in the Western Conference and the worst record in the NBA this season. They finished their season with a 7-game losing streak, having lost 8 of their last 10, finishing with only a single-digit amount of away wins on the season. But regardless, they will finish their season 14 games behind the 10th place San Antonio Spurs outside of the play-in picture, as they finish their season 44 games behind the Western Conference and NBA leading Phoenix Suns. They will be one of 4 teams who have the best chance of getting the best pick in the lottery, as the Rockets are going into this offseason with a lot of work to do. Taking a look at what happened in Memphis, the Memphis Grizzlies hosted the Boston Celtics. The Celtics would beat the Grizzlies 139 109 to 110. They won this game by 29 after they outscored the Grizzlies by 7 in the first quarter and 16 in the second. They were up by 23 at the half, and on the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Memphis Grizzlies were led in scoring by their power forward off the bench, Santi Aldama. He finished with 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 steals in 31 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the foul line. The Grizzlies starting shooting guards, John Conchar, finished with 17 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists, and 2 steals in 39 minutes. As the shooting guard out of Purdue FW would go on to finish with a triple-double. He shot 7 for 11 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and 2 for 5 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Boston Celtics were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward out of Duke, Jason Tatum. Tatum finished with 31 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 5 turnovers in 26 minutes. He shot 11 for 14 from the field, 6 for 8 from 3, and he would go on to make all 3 of his free throws in his final regular season game of the year. The Celtics starting center, Daniel Theis, would finish with 11 points and 10 rebounds in 26 minutes. He shot 5 for 8 from the field and made his only free throw on the night. With this win, the Boston Celtics finished their 2021-22 season with a 51-31 record. They would be tied with the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers for the second best record in the East, as the Celtics will go on to win 7 of their last 3 games. Because of seeding, they will go into the Eastern Conference playoffs with the 3rd seed, as their matchup in the first round will be the 6th seed Chicago Bulls. And of course, with this loss, the Memphis Grizzlies will finish their season with a 56-26 record. That is the second best record in the Western Conference and the second best record in the NBA for that matter. They finished their season with losing 3 of their last 10 games. They finished their season sitting 8 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns, and they sit 3 games ahead of the 3rd place Golden State Warriors. Going into the playoffs, their next matchup will be against the winner of the first Western Conference play-in game between the 7th seed Minnesota Timberwolves and the 8th seed LA Clippers, as they still have to wait to see who they're going to play against, but they're going to be playing their first round matchup at home. So taking a look now at what happened in Madison Square Garden, the New York Knicks hosted the Toronto Raptors. The Knicks would beat the Raptors in the Knicks' final game of the season. They won it by 11. They won it 105-94. This came after they outscored the Raptors by 9 in the first quarter and then by 10 in the fourth. On the losing end of this matchup, the Raptors would be led in scoring by their starting power forward, or by their power forward off the bench, Chris Boucher. Boucher finished with 21 points and 7 rebounds in 32 minutes. He shot 6 for 14 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and he would make 6 of his 7 free throws on the night. And on the winning end of this matchup, the hometown New York Knicks were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Obi Toppin. In his final regular season game of the year, he would finish with 42 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 16 for 28 from the field, 6 for 14 from 3, and he made all 4 of his free throws on the night. The Knicks starting shooting guard, Immanuel Quickley, finished with 34 points, 10 rebounds, and 12 assists, as he had a triple-double in 42 minutes. The shooting guard out of Kentucky would go on to finish shooting 12 for 26 from the field. He would make 4 threes on the night. He went 4 for 11, and he went 6 for 8 from 3. With this win, the New York Knicks will finish their 2021-22 season with a 37-45 record. That would be the 5th worst record in the Eastern Conference, finishing their season with a 2-game winning streak. They won 7 of their last 10 games on the season. They finished 6 games behind the 2-way tie of the Atlanta Hawks and the Charlotte Hornets at the bottom of the play-in picture. They finished their season sitting 16 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat as they go into this offseason, as their season is, of course, done. They are one of 5 teams who have failed to qualify for the Eastern Conference playoffs, alongside the Orlando Magic, the Detroit Pistons, the Indiana Pacers, and the Washington Wizards. With this loss, the Toronto Raptors finished their 21-22 season with a 48-34 record. They finished with the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they had lost 2 of their last 10. They would finish 3 games behind the three-way tie of the Bucks, the Celtics, and the 76ers for the second best record in the East. They would also finish 2 games ahead of the 6th place Chicago Bulls, who were sitting at the top of the East for a good amount of time. Going into the playoffs, they will be facing off against the 4-seed Philadelphia 76ers, as that will be a pretty good, highly anticipated matchup. And of course, with that said, taking a look at what happened in Orlando in the Magic's final game of the season, they would go on to beat the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. They won it 125-111, as many would not expect the team with the worst record in the conference to win this matchup. But of course, Miami would sit a good amount of their starters. The Magic would win this game by 14 after they outscored the Heat by 9 in the second quarter and then by 4 in the third, outscoring them by 13 in the middle 2 quarters. On the losing end of this matchup, the Miami Heat were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Victor Oladipo. He would go on to finish with 40 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals in 36 minutes. He shot 13 for 22 from the field, 5 for 11 from 3, and he shot 9 for 11 from the foul line on the night. And then the Heat's guard off the bench, Javonte Smart, would finish with 20 points and 5 rebounds in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field and 4 for 8 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup in their final game of the season, the hometown Orlando Magic were led in scoring by their starting point guard, Mo Bamba, and their starting center, Mo Bamba, and their starting point guard, R.J. Hampton. Mo Bamba finished with 21 points and 10 rebounds, as well as 2 blocks in 28 minutes. He shot 7 for 11 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. R.J. Hampton finished with 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in 33 minutes. He shot 8 for 16 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt on the night. Their starting center out of Michigan, Mo Wagner, finished with 14 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists, as well as 2 steals in 30 minutes. He shot 5 for 11 from the field, and he made both of his free throws on the night. Orlando's starting point guard and former number 1 overall pick, Markelle Fultz, would finish with 10 points and 15 assists in 29 minutes. He shot 5 for 12 from the field. With this win, the Orlando Magic will finish their 2021-22 season with a 22-60 record. That will go on to be the worst record in the Eastern Conference. They finished winning 3 of their last 10 games. They would finish their season 21 games outside of the play-in picture behind the Hornets and the Atlanta Hawks, and they would go on to finish their season sitting 31 full games behind their in-state rival, the Miami Heat, as they go into the offseason with one of the best chances for getting the number 1 overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft lottery. With this loss, the Miami Heat will finish their 2021-22 season with a 53-29 record, the best record in the Eastern Conference. This comes after they lost 4 of their last 10 games. They would finish their season sitting 2 games ahead of the 3-way tie between the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks, the Boston Celtics, and the Philadelphia 76ers. They would finish their season 10 games ahead of the Hawks and the Hornets, as they sit at the bottom of the play-in picture, and they would finish their season 31 games ahead of the Orlando Magic, who would finish their season at the very bottom of the Eastern Conference. To get a sense of how big the gap was, it was 31 games. Taking a look now and also with this loss, their next matchup will be against the winner of the second Eastern Conference play-in game. But of course, we'll get to that as we navigate our way through the play-in round. Taking a look at what happened in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia 76ers would host the Detroit Pistons. The Sixers would win this game by 12. They won it 118-106 after they outscored the Pistons by 6 in the first quarter and then by 10 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Detroit Pistons were led in scoring by their center off the bench out of Iowa's all-time leading scorer, Luka Garza. He finished with 20 points and 10 rebounds in 31 minutes. Garza shot 8 for 18 from the field on the night. And then with this win, the hometown Philadelphia 76ers were led in scoring by their shooting guard off the bench, Shake Milton. He would go on to finish with 30 points points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals in 33 minutes off the bench, as the Sixers shooting guard out of SMU would go on to shoot 11 for 18 from the field and a perfect 7 for 7 from the foul line as he made one of his three-pointer attempts. Their starting point guard Tyrese Maxey finished with 25 points in 23 minutes. He shot 9 for 15 from the field and made all 7 of his free throws. The Sixers power forward off the bench, Paul Reed, finished with 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 steals in 21 minutes. He shot 12 for 14 from the field and made his only free throw. With this win, the Philadelphia 76ers are now 51-31. They would finish their season tied with the Bucks and Celtics for the second best record in the East. But of course, they will go into the playoffs with the 4th seed, having won their last 2 games and 6 of their last 10. Sitting in that 3-way tie, they finished 2 games ahead of the Miami Heat. They also finished 3 games ahead of the 5th place Toronto Raptors, who they are slated to play against in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. So that's what the Sixers have in front of them. And with this, or I guess before I get to them, the Sixers will go on to finish, like I said, 2 games out of first place. With this loss, the Detroit Pistons finished their 2021-22 season with a 23-59 record. That is the second worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they have lost their last 3 games, and they finished their season losing 6 of their last 10. They finished 20 games behind the Atlanta Hawks and the Charlotte Hornets outside of the play-in picture. And overall, they would finish sitting 30 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. Sitting alongside the Orlando Magic, the Indiana Pacers, the Washington Wizards, and the New York Knicks, the Pistons were one of 5 teams in the Eastern Conference that did not qualify for the play-in round by the end of the regular season. And that is where they are sitting as they go into the offseason with a pretty solid chance of getting the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming draft. Taking a look at what happened in Minneapolis, literally like one state over, the Minnesota Timberwolves would host the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls would end up beating the Timberwolves 124-120. They would win this matchup by 4 after they would outscore the Timberwolves by 12 in the first quarter, and then by another 11 in the second half. They were up by 23 at the half before the Timberwolves almost came back. On the losing end of this matchup in their final game of the regular season, the hometown Timberwolves were led in scoring by their forward off the bench, Nathan Knight. He finished with 17 points and 8 rebounds in 16 minutes. He shot 7 for 12 from the field, and he would go on to shoot 2 for 3 from the foul line. The Timberwolves' elite starting small forward out of Georgia, Anthony Edwards, finished with 8 points in 18 minutes. He will go on to shoot 3 for 8 from the field as he made both of his free throws. On the winning end of this matchup, the Chicago Bulls were led in scoring by their starting power forward and former lottery pick Patrick Williams out of Florida State. He finished with 35 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 5 turnovers in 41 minutes. He shot 10 for 21 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and 12 for 14 from the foul line. The Bulls starting shooting guard, their rookie out of Illinois, Ayo Dosunmu, finished with 26 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 7 turnovers in 45 minutes. He shot 9 for 18 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the free throw line. The Bulls starting small forward, Troy Brown Jr., finished with 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 steals in 40 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field, and he made his only free throw. With this win, the Chicago Bulls are now 46-36. They finished their season with the 6th best record in the Eastern Conference on a 4, or they would go on having won 4 of their last 10 games. They would finish this season, in looking in the playoff picture, they finished 2 games behind the 5th place Toronto Raptors, and they finished 2 games ahead of the Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Overall, they trailed the Miami Heat by 7 games in the conference. Going into the playoffs, their next matchup will be against the 3-seed Boston Celtics, as the Celtics will have home court advantage in that matchup. With this loss, the Minnesota Timberwolves will finish their 2021-22 season with the same 46-36 record. That will qualify for the 7th best record in the West, having lost 6 of their last 10 games of the season. They would go into this playoff picture sitting 2 games behind the 6th place Denver Nuggets, and they will go in sitting 4 games ahead of the 8th place Los Angeles Clippers. They finished the season 18 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns, and they are going into their next matchup facing off against the 8th seed Los Angeles Clippers tomorrow in the first Western Conference play-in game. So that's what's ahead for them. Taking a look now at what happened in Dallas, the Mavericks would host the San Antonio Spurs. The Mavericks would beat the Spurs 130 to 120. They would go on to win this game by 10 after they outscored the Spurs by 15 in the third quarter alone. On the losing end of this matchup, the Spurs were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Keldon Johnson. He finished with 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 19 from the field, and he made all 7 of his free throws. Their all-star starting point guard DeJounte Murray would finish his all-star season with a 17-point, 7 assists, and 3 steal performance in 32 minutes. He shot 5 for 15 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3, and he made all 6 of his free throws. The Spurs starting center, Jakob Poeltl out of Utah, would finish with 12 points and 10 rebounds in 29 minutes. He shot 6 for 11 from the field. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Dallas Mavericks were led in scoring in their final regular season game by their elite starting shooting guard out of Slovenia, Luka Doncic. Doncic would finish with 26 points, 8 rebounds in 9 minutes, as well as 2 steals in 29 minutes. The Mavs all-star from Ljubljana would go on to finish shooting 8 for 18 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and he would go on to make all 8 of his free throws on the night. With this win, the Dallas Mavericks are 52-30. They finished their 2021-22 season with the 4th best record in the Western Conference. They would finish their season with a 4-game winning streak. They won 8 of their last 10 games of the year. They finished their season 1 game behind the 3rd place Golden State Warriors and 3 games ahead of the 5th place Utah Jazz. They will finish their season 12 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns. Looking to see what's ahead for them, their first round matchup will be against the 5th seed Utah Jazz, as the Mavericks should have home court advantage. And with this loss, the San Antonio Spurs will finish their season with a 34-48 record. That was the 10th best record in the Western Conference to finish the season, as the Spurs finished their season on a 3-game losing streak, having lost 4 of their last 10. They finished 2 games behind the 9th place New Orleans Pelicans, and they finished 1 game ahead of the Los Angeles Lakers, the first team on the outside looking in. The Spurs finished their season 30 full games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns, as their next matchup will be their play-in game in New Orleans against the Pelicans. Their next game could see their season ending, but the Spurs, as of right now, are still alive. They are one of 20 teams that are still playing, just barely though. Taking a look now at what happened in the Mile High City, the Denver Nuggets would host the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers would beat the Nuggets 146-141 in overtime. They would outscore the Nuggets 11-6 in this overtime period after they had to outscore the Nuggets by 13 in the 4th quarter to tie the game. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Denver Nuggets would finish their regular season being led in scoring by their point guard off the bench, Marcus Howard. He finished with 25 points in 24 minutes. He shot 8 for 17 from the field and 7 for 8 from the free throw line. In their starting lineup, their shooting guard, Bryn Forbes, would finish with 24 points in 36 minutes. He shot 6 for 14 from the field, 5 for 11 from 3, and he made all 7 of his free throws. On the winning end of this matchup, the Los Angeles Lakers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Kentucky, Malik Monk. He finished with 41 points and 4 rebounds in 35 minutes. He shot 14 for 25 from the field, 7 for 14 from 3, and he made all 6 of his free throws. The Lakers starting shooting guard Austin Reeves finished with 31 points, 16 rebounds, 10 assists, and 2 steals in 42 minutes. He would go on to shoot 7 for 17 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and he would go on to shoot 14 for 14 from the foul line, and that was the Lakers rookie out of Oklahoma with the triple-double. The Lakers starting power forward Wenyen Gabriel out of Kentucky would finish with 14 points, 10 rebounds and 2 blocks in 38 minutes. He shot 6 for 13 from the field on the night. With this win, the Los Angeles Lakers would finish their 2021-22 season with a 33-49 record after they had a lot of high expectations this year. That would be the 5th worst record in the Western Conference, as they would finish their season on a 2-game winning streak, having won 2 of their last 10 games. They finished just 1 game outside of the play-in picture, right behind the San Antonio Spurs. They finished 31 full games behind the Phoenix Suns, and they are one of 5 teams sitting alongside the Sacramento Kings, the Portland Trailblazers, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Houston Rockets that failed to qualify for the playoffs this year, as the Lakers have an entire offseason before they play their next NBA game later this year. As that game will be a part of the 2022-23 season. This coming after they are not that far removed. They're 2 seasons removed from their last championship. And of course, with this loss, the Denver Nuggets are 48-34. That is the 6th best record in the Western Conference, as they have lost 4 of their last 10 to end the season. They would finish 1 game behind the 5th place Utah Jazz, 2 games ahead of the 7th place Minnesota Timberwolves, and 16 whole games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns. Going into the for sure playoffs, their next matchup will be against the Golden State Warriors, as the Golden State Warriors should be the team that has home court advantage in this matchup. So, of course, that is what's going on with Denver, as the Lakers season is, of course, over. Taking a look at the game that actually happened in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Clippers would host the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Clippers would end the Thunder season after winning 138-88. They would win this game by 50 after they outscored the Thunder by 21 in the first quarter. They would outscore the Thunder by 13 in the third quarter and 22 in the fourth quarter to outscore them by 35 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder were led in scoring in their final outing by their starting small forward, Georgios Kalaitzakis, and their starting guard, Xavier Sampson. Kalaitzakis finished with 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals in 48 minutes. He shot 6 for 15 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 2 for 4 from the foul line, as he played every minute of the game. Simpson finished with 17 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists in 45 minutes. He shot 7 for 15 from the field, and he made both of his free throws. The Thunder starting forward, Jalen Horde, finished with 14 points and 15 rebounds in 45 minutes. He shot 6 for 20 from the field, and he made his only free throw. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown LA Clippers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Amir Coffey. He finished with 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists in 43 minutes. He shot 13 for 22 from the field, 7 for 10 from 3, and he made both of his free throws on the night. The Clippers starting shooting guard out of Duke, Luke Kennard, finished with 20 points in 28 minutes. He shot 7 for 17 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and he made both of his foul attempts on the night. And then the Clippers starting center, Ivica Zubac, finished with 12 points and 11 rebounds alongside 2 blocks in 23 minutes. He shot 6 for 10 from the field. With this win, the LA Clippers will finish their season with a 42-40 record. They finish with the 8th best record in the West, as they finish on a 5-game winning streak, tied with the Golden State Warriors for the longest active winning streak in the Western Conference. Their 5-game winning streak would also go down as the longest active winning streak in the NBA, or the longest winning streak to finish the season. They won 6 of their last 10 games. They finished 4 games behind the 7th place Minnesota Timberwolves. They finished 6 games ahead of the 9th place New Orleans Pelicans. Overall, they finished 22 games behind the conference-leading Phoenix Suns. They go into their next matchup ready to face off against the 7th seed Minnesota Timberwolves tomorrow in the Western Conference's first play-in game. With this loss, the Oklahoma City Thunder would finish their 2021-22 season with a 24-58 record. That is the 2nd worst record in the Western Conference and the 4th worst record in the NBA. They lost their last 3 games, and they lost 6 of their last 10. They finished 10 games behind the San Antonio Spurs outside of the Western Conference play-in picture. They finished 40 whole games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns. And of course, they go into this playoffs ready, or they go into this offseason not ready to get ready to make some major changes, as they finished alongside the Houston Rockets, the Portland Trailblazers, the Sacramento Kings, and the Los Angeles Lakers as one of 5 teams that have failed to qualify for the Western Conference play-in. Taking a look now at what happened in New Orleans, the New Orleans Pelicans hosted the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors would beat the Pelicans 128-107. They won this game by 21 after they outscored the Pelicans by 19 in the second quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Pelicans were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Naji Marshall. He finished with 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 8 for 15 from the field and made all 3 of his free throws. On the winning end of this matchup, the Golden State Warriors were led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard out of Washington State, Klay Thompson. He finished with 41 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists in 31 minutes, as the former champ shot 16 for 29 from the field, 7 for 14 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. The Warriors starting shooting guard Jordan Poole finished with 22 points and 5 assists and 2 blocks, as well as 5 turnovers in 28 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and he made all 4 of his free throws on the night. Their all-star starting power forward, Draymond Green, would finish his regular season with 7 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 assists in 25 minutes. He made both of his field goals on the day. He made his only three-pointer, and he made both of his free throws on the night as well. With this win, the Golden State Warriors finished their 21-22 season with a 53-29 record. That was the 3rd best record in the Western Conference and tied for the 3rd best record in the NBA, with the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. They would go on to win their last 5 games of the season, tied with the Clippers for the longest winning streak to end the season. They would win 6 of their last 10, as they finished 3 games behind the second-place Memphis Grizzlies. They finished a game ahead of the 4th-place Dallas Mavericks. Overall, they trailed the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 11 games after the Warriors were leading the conference for some portion of the season. And they will go into the playoffs getting ready to face off against the 6th-seed Denver Nuggets, as the Warriors should have home court advantage in that matchup. With this loss, the New Orleans Pelicans will finish their 2021-22 season with a 36-46 record. That is the 9th best record in the Western Conference, as they lost their last 2 games. They lost 4 of their last 10 games of the season. They finished 6 games behind the 8th place Los Angeles Clippers. They finished 2 games ahead of the 10th place San Antonio Spurs. Overall, they finished 28 games behind the Phoenix Suns. Going into the play-in round, they are going to face off against the 10-seed San Antonio Spurs in New Orleans on Wednesday for a chance to face off against the loser in the first Western Conference play-in game between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Los Angeles Clippers in Minneapolis. So that's what the Pelicans are looking at. As they would have to win 2 games from here on out to make it into the playoff picture to face off against the 1-seed Phoenix Suns. And then taking a look at what happened in Phoenix, speaking of the Suns, they would host the Sacramento Kings. The Kings would beat the Suns 116-109. They won this game by 7 after they outscored the Suns by 9 in the first quarter and then by 7 in the second. They were up by 16 at the half. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Phoenix Suns were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Wichita State, Landry Shamet. He would finish with 27 points and 5 assists in 33 minutes. He shot 11 for 20 from the field and 5 for 12 from 3. The Suns' starting center, JaVale McGee, would finish with 11 points and 13 rebounds in 22 minutes. He shot 5 for 9 from the field. On the winning end of this matchup, the Sacramento Kings were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Justin Holiday, their starting center, Damian Jones, and then their shooting guard off the bench, Dante DiVincenzo, as all had 19 points. Justin Holiday had 19 points and 2 steals in 31 minutes as he shot 7 for 10 from the field and 5 for 6 from 3. Damian Jones finished with 19 points and 6 rebounds alongside 2 blocks in 30 minutes. He shot 8 for 9 from the field and 1 for 2 2 from 3. Dante DiVincenzo would finish with 19 points off the bench in 27 minutes. He shot 5 for 11 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and he made 5 of his 7 free throws. The Kings' starting point guard, their rookie out of Baylor, Davion Mitchell, would finish with 18 points and 15 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 5 for 14 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 6 for 8 from the foul line. With this win, the Sacramento Kings are now 30-52. That is the fourth worst record in the Western Conference, as they've won 5 of their last 10. They would finish 4 games behind the 10th place San Antonio Spurs outside of the play-in picture, as they won 5 of their last 10 games of the season. They would finish alongside the Houston Rockets, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Los Angeles Lakers as one of 5 teams that have failed to qualify for the Western Conference play-in picture. Overall, they trailed the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 34 whole games. With this loss, the Phoenix Suns finished their 2021-22 season with the best record in the NBA at 64-18, as they lost 4 of their last 10 games of the season, finishing with a single-digit amount of losses at home and on the road, 32-9. On both, they were pretty much even on both fronts. They would finish 8 games ahead of the second-place Memphis Grizzlies. They finished 30 games ahead of the 10th place San Antonio Spurs, and they finished 44 games ahead of the team that held the worst record in the NBA from within their own conference, the Houston Rockets. Going into the playoffs, they will be playing against the winner of the the next Western Conference play-in game, between the winner of the loser of the first matchup and the winner of the second one. So the Suns have a good amount of games to wait for, but they will go into the Western Conference playoffs with the home court advantage, and they should have the home court advantage throughout the playoffs. And last but not least, jumping out to the Moda Center in Portland, as the Portland Trail Blazers would see their season come to an end at the hands of the Utah Jazz. The Jazz would beat the Trail Blazers 111-80. They won this game by 31 after they outscored the Trail Blazers by 15 in the second quarter, by 10 in the third quarter, and then by 9 in the fourth. They would go on to outscore the Trail Blazers by 34 points following the first quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Trailblazers were led in scoring by their starting forward, Reggie Perry. He finished with 20 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks in 33 minutes. He shot 9 for 17 from the field on the night. And on the winning end of this matchup, the Utah Jazz were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Juancho Hernan Gomez. He would go on to finish with 22 points and 8 rebounds in 32 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and he shot 2 for 4 from the free throw line. The Jazz elite starting center out of France, Rudy Gobert, finished with 18 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 30 minutes. He shot 4 for 6 from the field and 10 for 14 from the free throw line. With this win, the Utah Jazz are now 49-33. That is currently the 5th best record in the Western Conference. They've won 4 of their last 10 games. They finished 3 games behind the 4th place Dallas Mavericks. They finished a game ahead of the 6th place Denver Nuggets. Overall, they would finish 15 full games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns. Going into the playoffs, they will be facing off against the 4-seed Dallas Mavericks, as the Mavericks should have home court advantage there. And then, of course, with this loss, the Portland Trail Blazers would finish their 2021-22 season with a 27-55 record, as they finished with the longest active losing streak in the NBA to finish the season. They finished with an 11-game losing streak. They finished 7 games behind the 10th place San Antonio Spurs, as they played a good portion of the season within the play-in picture. They would go on to finish the season 37 full games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns, as their next game will be later this year, as they go into the offseason with a lot of decisions to make, especially about the future of Damian Lillard. So that is what the NBA is looking like for today, as the NBA play-in round will, of course, continue tomorrow. And as we move through the NBA one day at a time, I do want to thank everyone for following this entire NBA season, as now we are now down from 30 teams competing for the title. We are now down to 20 teams. that are now eligible to compete for the 2021-22 title, and we are going to see teams get eliminated as time goes on. But with that said, taking a look at what happened in the MLB as teams are still within their very first series. Starting off in Philadelphia, the Phillies would host the Oakland A's. The Oakland A's would go on to beat the Phillies 4-1 as they would score all 4 of their runs before the Phillies scored their lone run in the bottom of the 9th. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Phillies were led out by their starting pitcher for the day, Zach Eflin. Zach Eflin would allow no earned runs and 2 hits in the 4 innings that he pitched. He would walk 2 batters and strike out 3. The loss would go to the Phillies' first relief pitcher on the day, Bailey Falter. He would allow 2 earned runs and 4 hits in 2.1 innings pitched. He would strike out 2 batters before getting pulled in the 7th inning, and with this loss, he's 0-1. In the Phillies' batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit. However, their second baseman, Gene Segura, will go 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his second home run of the season. On the winning end of this matchup, the Oakland Athletics were led out by their starting pitcher, Dalton Jeffries. Jeffries would pick up his first win of the season as he allowed no earned runs off of 2 hits in 5 innings pitched. He would walk 2 batters and he would strike out 2, and with this win, he's now 1-0 on the season. In the A's batting lineup, their second baseman, Tony Kemp, would go 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Their center fielder, Christian Pache, would go 2 for 4 with a run for himself. With this win, the Oakland Athletics are now 1-2. That is currently the 3rd best record in the American League West, as they are currently tied with the Texas Rangers. At the moment, the A's are sitting a game and a half behind the Houston Astros. And with this loss, the Philadelphia Phillies are 2-1. That is the 2nd best record in the National League East, as they currently sit half a game behind the New York Mets at the moment, who are currently leading that division. Taking a look at what happened in Tampa, the Rays would host the Baltimore Orioles from within their own division. The Rays would shut the Orioles out 8-0 after a couple of 4-run innings. On the losing end of this matchup, the Baltimore Orioles were led out by their starting pitcher, Tyler Wells. Tyler Wells would go on to allow 4 earned runs off of 3 hits as he would get pulled in the 2nd inning. He would walk 2 batters and strike out 2, and with this loss, he's 0-1. In the Orioles batting lineup, their first baseman, Ryan Mountcastle, will go 2 for 4. He was the only player on the team with multiple hits. The hometown Tampa Bay Rays were led out by their starting pitcher, Corey Kluber, former Cy Young winner. He would allow no earned runs and 3 hits in the 4.2 innings he pitched. He would walk 4 batters and strike out 5 before getting pulled in the 5th inning. The win would go to the Rays' first relief pitcher, Jeffrey Springs. He would allow no earned runs as he finished off the 5th inning. With this win, he's now 1-0. In the Rays batting lineup, their second baseman, Brandon Lau, will go 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs for himself. He hit his first home run of the season. The Rays' elite shortstop, Wander Franco, went 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. Their first baseman, Ji-Man Choi, went 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run. And then their designated hitter, Harold Ramirez, would end up going 3 for 4 with an RBI and a run. With this win, the Tampa Bay Rays are now 3-0. That is the best record in the American League East, and they are still the only team that is undefeated in the MLB so far. They sit 1 game ahead of the 2nd place New York Yankees and Toronto Blue Jays at the moment. With this loss, the Baltimore Orioles are 0-3. That is the worst record in the American League East, and they are the only team that still has yet to win a game. Overall, they are sitting 3 games behind the division-leading Tampa Bay Rays. Taking a look at what happened in Detroit, the Detroit Tigers hosted the Chicago White Sox from within their division. The defending AL Central champs, White Sox, would beat the Tigers 10-1. After the Tigers scored their lone run in the 2nd inning, the White Sox, of course, would score 8 unanswered to end the game after they were already leading in the first place. On the losing end of this matchup, the Detroit Tigers were led out by their starting pitcher, Tariq Skubal. He would allow 5 runs in the 4 innings that he pitched off of 7 hits. He would walk a batter and strike out 3, and with this loss, he's now 0-1. In the Tigers batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit, and that would be attributed to great pitching from the White Sox side of things. The start was attributed to Michael Kopech. He would allow 1 earned run off of 2 hits in the 4 innings that he pitched. He would walk 2 batters and strike out 3. The win, however, would go to the White Sox first relief pitcher, Kyle Crick. Crick would allow no earned runs in the 5th inning as he struck out a batter, and with this win, he's 1-0. In their batting lineup, their elite shortstop, Tim Anderson, would go 3 for 5 with 2 runs. Their elite first baseman, Jose Abreu, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 3 runs. Their designated hitter, Andrew Vaughn, would end up going 2 for 5 with 4 RBIs and a run, as he would go on to hit his 7th home run of the season in the 7th inning, as that home run was a 3-run home run from him. And of course, with this win, the Chicago White Sox are now 2-1. They are tied with the Kansas City Royals for the best record in the American League Central. Right now, they sit 1 game ahead of the 3-way tie between the Cleveland Guardians, the Detroit Tigers, and the Minnesota Twins, who are tied for the worst record in the division. With this loss, the Tigers are now 1-2, tied with the Cleveland Guardians and Minnesota Twins for the worst record in the division, sitting 1 game behind the 2-way tie between the Kansas City Royals and the defending AL Central champs, Chicago White Sox, for the top of the division. Taking a look at what happened in our nation's capital, the Washington Nationals would get their first win of the season, beating the Mets 4-2 after the Mets were leading 2-1 going into the bottom of the 8th. It would be a Lucius Fox sacrifice bunt to tie the game at 2, and it would be a 2-run single from Nelson Cruz to put the Nationals ahead. On the losing end of this matchup, the Mets were led by their starting pitcher, Carlos Carrasco. Carrasco allowed only 1 earned run off of 2 hits in 5.2 innings. He would strike out 5 before getting pulled in the 6th inning, as the loss and blown save would be given to the Mets closer for the day, Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams allowed 2 runs off of 2 hits in the 8th inning. With this loss, he's now 0-1. In the Mets batting lineup, their right fielder, Mark Canha, was the only player with more than 1 hit. He went 3 for 4 with an RBI. The Mets' elite shortstop, Francisco Lindor, went 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run as he hit his first home run of the season. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Washington Nationals were led out by their starting pitcher, Erick Fedde. Erick Fedde would allow 2 earned runs off of 5 hits in 5 innings pitched, as he would walk 2 batters and strike out 5. The win, however, would go to the Nationals' setup relief pitcher, Kyle Finnegan. He allowed no earned runs in the 8th inning as he would strike out a batter. With his win, he's 0-1. He's 1-0. The Nats closer, Tanner Rainey, would pick up his first save of the year. He allowed no earned runs off of 1 hit in the 9th inning. In the Nats batting lineup, their elite designated hitter Nelson Cruz would go 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run. He hit his very first home run of the season yesterday, and with this win, the Washington Nationals are 1-3. That is the worst record in the National League East, as they sit 2 games behind the division-leading New York Mets. With this loss, the Mets are now 3-1. That is still the best record in their division, and that they are tied with the San Diego Padres for the best record in the National League. They sit half a game ahead of the second-place Philadelphia Phillies at the moment. Taking a look at what happened in Atlanta, the defending World Series champs Braves would host the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds would end up beating the Braves 6-3 after scoring 5 runs in the 5th inning alone. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown defending champs Atlanta Braves would be led out by their starting pitcher Ian Anderson. Anderson allowed 5 earned runs off of 3 hits in 2.2 innings. He would walk 5 batters and strike out 1 before getting pulled in the 3rd inning. With this loss, Ian Anderson is 0-1. In the Braves batting lineup, their first baseman Matt Olson went 3 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs as he hit his first home run in a Braves uniform. He was the only player for the Braves to register more than 1 hit. On the winning end of this matchup, the Cincinnati Reds were led out by their starting pitcher, Hunter Green, from the San Fernando Valley. Of course, shout out there. He would allow 3 earned runs in 4 hits in the 5 innings that he pitched as he walked 2 batters and struck out 7. With this win, he's now 1-0 on the season, and the save would go to the Reds closer, Art Warren. He allowed no earned runs off of 1 hit in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter. This, of course, would be his first save of the year. In the Reds batting lineup, their designated hitter, Tyler Naquin, went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. And then their shortstop, Kyle Farmer, would go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. With this win, the Cincinnati Reds are 2-2. That is the third best record in the National League Central. At this moment, they sit half a game behind the two-way tie at the top of the division between the Chicago Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals. With this loss, the defending champs Atlanta Braves are now 2-2. That is the third best record in the National League East. At this moment, they trail the division-leading New York Mets by a full game in the conference, or in the division. Taking a look at what happened in Toronto, north of the border, the Blue Jays would host the Texas Rangers. The Rangers would get their first win of the season, beating the Blue Jays 12-6. The Blue Jays would score all 6 of their runs in the first 3 innings of the game. The Rangers would take the lead in the fourth after scoring 6 innings in the fourth, thanks to an RBI single from Corey Seager, their newest infielder. They would go on to score 11 unanswered runs to win this game. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Toronto Blue Jays were led out by their elite starting pitcher from South Korea, Hyunjin Ryu. He would allow 6 earned runs off of 5 hits in 3.1 innings. He would walk 2 and strike out 4 before getting pulled in the 4th inning. The loss for the Blue Jays would go to their first relief pitcher, Julian Merriweather. He would allow 1 earned run off of 2 hits as he finished the 4th inning as he struck out 2. With this loss, he's 0-1 for the season. In the Blue Jays batting lineup, their designated hitter, George Springer, went 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run as he hit his first home run of the season. Their elite first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., would go 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run as he hit his first home run of the season. Their elite third baseman, Matt Chapman, would go 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run as Chapman hit his first home run of the season for Toronto. Not to mention their catcher, Danny Jansen, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. Jansen hit his second home run of the season. On the winning end of this matchup, the Texas Rangers were led out by their starting pitcher, Spencer Howard. Howard would allow 6 earned runs off of 6 hits in the 3 innings that he pitched as he struck out 5. The win would go to the Rangers' first relief pitcher, as their first relief pitcher in this matchup ended up being Brock Burke. He allowed no earned runs and 1 hit in the 2 innings that he pitched. He would walk a batter and he would strike out 5 of the 6 outs that he would have to get. With this win, he's now 1-0 for the Rangers. In the Rangers batting lineup, their elite shortstop and former champ Corey Seager went 2 for 5 with an RBI. Their left fielder, Nick Solak, would end up going 2 for 5. He would end up going 2 for 3 on the day as he had an RBI and 4 runs as he walked twice. He hit his first home run of the season. Their catcher, Jonah Heim, would go 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. Jonah Heim hit his first home run of the season. Not to mention that their pinch-hitting outfielder, Brad Miller, went 2 for 3 with 4 RBIs and 2 runs. Brad Miller hit his second home run of the season. With this win, the Texas Rangers are 1-2. That is the third best record in the AL West, as they are tied with the Oakland Athletics. Both of these teams are currently sitting a game and a half behind the division-leading Houston Astros, who are the defending American League champs. With this loss, the Toronto Blue Jays are 2-1. That is the second best record in the American League, as they are actually tied with the New York Yankees. At this moment, the Toronto Blue Jays, alongside the Yankees, are sitting 1 game behind the division-leading Tampa Bay Rays. Taking a look at what happened in Kansas City, the Kansas City Royals hosted the Cleveland Guardians from within their division, the AL Central. The Guardians would beat the Royals 17-3 as they had 22 hits as well. They scored 10 of their 17 runs in the first 2 innings of the game. So, of course, very big start for them, as they would even see a grand slam from Oscar Mercado. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Kansas City Royals were led out by their starting pitcher, Kris Bubic. Kris Bubic would go on to allow 5 earned runs off of 3 hits as he would get pulled in the first inning. He would walk 2 batters, and with his loss, he's 0-1. In the Royals batting lineup, their first baseman, Hunter Dozier, would end up going 2 for 4 for himself. Alongside Hunter Dozier, the Royals starting center fielder, Michael A. Taylor, would go 2 for 2 with a run for himself. And then alongside that, on the winning end of this matchup, the Cleveland Guardians were led out by their starting pitcher, Cal Quantrill. Quantrill would allow 2 earned runs off of 4 hits in the 5 innings that he pitched, as he would walk a batter and he would strike out 2. With this win, he's now 1-0. In the Guardians batting lineup, their left fielder for the day, Stephen Kwan, would end up going 5 for 5 with 4 runs. Their elite third baseman, Jose Ramirez, would go 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 3 runs. He would finish with 2 doubles, and he would hit his first home run of the season. The Guardians designated hitter Franmil Reyes went 2 for 6 with an RBI and a run. Their shortstop Ahmed Rosario went 4 for 5 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs, as he would go on to hit his first triple of the season. Their first baseman, Owen Miller, went 3 for 6 with 4 RBIs and 2 runs. Their second baseman, Ernie Clement, would end up going 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. And then their right fielder, Oscar Mercado, would end up going 2 for 6 with 5 RBIs and a run. With this win, the Cleveland Guardians are 1-2. They are tied with the Detroit Tigers and the Minnesota Twins for the third best record and the worst record in the AL Central. All 3 of these teams sit a game behind the Chicago White Sox and the Kansas City Royals. With this loss, the Kansas City Royals are 2-1. They are currently tied with the Chicago White Sox for the best record in the AL Central, as both the Royals and the White Sox sit a full game ahead of the Cleveland Guardians, the Detroit Tigers, and the Minnesota Twins at the moment. Taking a look now at what happened in Minneapolis, the Minnesota Twins hosted the Seattle Mariners. The Twins would go on to beat the Mariners 10-4. They won this game by 6 after scoring 8 of their 10 runs in the first 4 innings of the game. They scored 5 runs in the first inning alone, as they would see Gary Sanchez hit his first grand slam in a Twins uniform. On the losing end of this matchup, the Seattle Mariners were led out by their starting pitcher, Marco Gonzalez. Marco Gonzalez would allow 6 runs off of 6 hits in 2 innings. He would walk 2 batters and strike out 1, and with this loss, he's 0-1. In the Mariners batting lineup, their second baseman, Adam Frazier, went 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Their designated hitter, Mitch Haniger, went 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Minnesota Twins were led out by their starting pitcher, Bailey Ober. Ober would allow 4 earned runs off of 4 hits in the 5 innings that he pitched. He would walk 2 batters and strike out 4. And with this win, he's now 1-0 for the Twins. In the Twins batting lineup, their center fielder Byron Buxton went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs, as he would hit his second and third home runs of the season for Minnesota as well. Their starting second baseman Jorge Polanco will go 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs for the day. He hit his first home run of the year. Their catcher Gary Sanchez would go 2 for 4 with 5 RBIs and a run, as his grand slam would be his first home run of the season. With this win, the Minnesota Twins are 1-2. They are tied with the Cleveland Guardians and the Detroit Tigers for the worst record in the AL Central, as all of these teams sit 1 game behind the Chicago White Sox and the Kansas City Royals. With this loss, the Seattle Mariners are 2-1. That is the second best record in the American League West. At this moment, they sit half a game behind the defending American League champs, Houston Astros, within their own division. Taking a look at what happened in St. Louis now, the Cardinals would host the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates would go on to beat the Cardinals 9-4. They would score 7 of their 9 runs in the 3rd and 4th innings after the Cardinals took the early lead. On the losing end of this matchup, the St. Louis Cardinals were led out by their starting pitcher, Steven Matz. Steven Matz would allow 7 earned runs off of 9 hits in 3 innings. He would walk a batter and strike out 5, and with this loss, Matz is 0-1. In the Cardinals batting lineup, their elite third baseman, Nolan Arenado, would go 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run, as he hit his second home run of the season. Their right fielder, Dylan Carlson, would go 2 for 2 as he finished with a walk as well. He had an RBI and a run, as he had his second double of the season yesterday. He was the only St. Louis Cardinal with more than 1 hit. On the winning end of this matchup, the Pittsburgh Pirates were led out by their starting pitcher, Bryce Wilson. He would go on to allow 3 earned runs off of 5 hits in 4 innings pitched, as he would walk a batter and strike out 2. The win for the Pittsburgh Pirates would go to their first relief pitcher, Miguel Yajure. Yajure would allow no earned runs in the 2 innings that he pitched, as he struck out a batter and even walked one. With this win, he is now 1-0 on the season. In the Pirates batting lineup, their first baseman, Michael Chavis, would go on to go 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs and a run, as he hit his first home run of the season. The Pirates' third baseman, Ke'Bryan Hayes, went 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Their second baseman on the day, Diego Castillo, will go 3 for 5 with 2 runs. Their right fielder, Jake Marisnick, will go 2 for 5 with an RBI. Their left fielder, Ben Gamel, went 2 for 4 with 2 runs. With this win, the Pittsburgh Pirates are now 1-2. They are currently tied with the Milwaukee Brewers for the worst record in the National League Central. They are currently sitting 1 game behind the Chicago Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals, who are leading their NL Central division. With this loss, the Cardinals are now 2-1. They are tied with the Chicago Cubs for the best record in the division. Both of these teams sit half a game ahead of the third place Cincinnati Reds at the moment. Taking a look at what happened in Chicago, the Cubs would host the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers would go on to beat the Cubs 5-4. After the Cubs scored 3 runs in the first inning, it would be until the 6th inning where the Brewers would take their first lead, and the score would be tied at 4 going into the top of the 7th. It would be a Mike Brosseau home run that would give the Brewers the edge and give them the win. On the losing end of this matchup, the Chicago Cubs were led out by their starting pitcher out of Duke, Marcus Stroman. He would allow 1 earned run off of 2 hits in the 5 innings that he pitched. He would walk 3 batters and then strike out 3 more. The loss for the Cubs would go to their second relief pitcher, Daniel Norris. He allowed 1 earned run in 1.1 innings pitched, as he would finish the 6th and pitch the entire 7th inning. He would strike out 2 batters in that stretch, and with his loss, he's 0-1. In the Cubs batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit. However, the lone home run on their team was from their right fielder, Seiya Suzuki. He would go on to finish 1 for 3 with 3 RBIs and a run, as he hit his first home run of the season. On the winning end of this matchup, the Milwaukee Brewers were led out by their starting pitcher, Freddie Peralta. He allowed 3 earned runs off of 3 hits in 4 innings, as he would walk 4 batters and strike out 6. The win for the Brewers would go to their third relief pitcher, Brad Boxberger. He allowed no earned runs in the 7th inning, as he would allow a hit and strike out a batter. With this win, he's 1-0. The save would go to the Brewers' elite closer, Josh Hader. Hader would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning, as he struck out 2. This would be his very first save of the season. In the Brewers batting lineup, their elite left fielder and former National League MVP, Christian Yelich, would go 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run. He would be the only player on the team that actually logged more than 1 hit. With this win, the Milwaukee Brewers are 1-2. They are tied with the Pittsburgh Pirates for the worst record in the National League Central. Both of these teams sit a full game behind the division-leading Chicago Cubs and St. Louis Cardinals. With this loss, the Chicago Cubs are 2-1. They are tied with the St. Louis Cardinals for the best record in the National League Central. They both sit half a game ahead of the third-place Cincinnati Reds at the moment. Taking a look at what happened in the Mile High City, the Colorado Rockies would host the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Rockies would beat the Dodgers 9-4 after they would score 7 of their 9 runs in the first 4 innings. On the losing end of this matchup, the LA Dodgers were led out by their starting pitcher, Julio Urias. Julio Urias would go on to allow 6 runs in the 2 innings that he pitched. He would walk 2 batters on the day, and with this loss, he's 0-1. In the Dodgers batting lineup, their third baseman, Justin Turner, went 2 for 4 with a run. Their elite center fielder and former National League MVP, Cody Bellinger, would go 2 for 3 with a run. Their left fielder, Chris Taylor, went 2 for 3 with an RBI for himself. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Colorado Rockies were led out by their starting pitcher Antonio Senzatella. He would allow 4 runs off of 9 hits in 3.1 innings. He would walk a batter before getting pulled in the 4th inning. The win for the Rockies would go to their first relief pitcher, Jhoulys Chacín. Chacín allowed no earned runs as he finished the 4th inning and pitched the entire 5th. He would strike out 3 batters on the day, and with this win, he's 1-0. The save would go to the Rockies closer, Ty Blach. Ty Blach would allow no earned runs in the final 4 innings of the game as he walked a batter and struck out 4, only allowing 1 hit in that stretch. This would be his very first save of the season for the Rockies. And in the Rockies batting lineup, their elite left fielder, Chris Bryant, would go 2 for 5 with a run. Their designated hitter, CJ Cron, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs as he hit his first home run of the season. Their catcher, Elias Diaz, would end up going 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his first home run of the season. Their center fielder, Jonathan Daza, would end up going 2 for 4. With this win, the Colorado Rockies are now 2-1. That is currently the second best record in the West as they are tied with the San Francisco Giants. They both are sitting half a game behind the division-leading San Diego Padres. With this loss, the LA Dodgers are now 1-2. That is the 4th best record in the division. Overall, they are trailing the division leaders by 1.5 games. But right now, that is where these two teams are sitting. Taking a look at what happened in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Giants hosted the Miami Marlins. The Giants would end up beating the Marlins 3-2 as they scored all 3 of their runs in the 2nd and 3rd innings. On the losing end of this matchup, the Miami Marlins were led out by their starting pitcher, Trevor Rogers. He allowed 3 runs off of 6 hits in the 5 innings that he pitched, as he would allow a walk and he would go on to strike out 3 batters. With this loss, he's now 0-1. In the Marlins batting lineup, their left fielder, Jorge Soler, would end up going 3 for 4. Their center fielder, Jesus Sanchez, would end up going 2 for 4. Their shortstop, Joey Wendell from the Rays, would end up going 2 for 4 with 2 runs. And on the winning end of this matchup, the hometown San Francisco Giants were led out by their starting pitcher, Anthony DeSclafani. He allowed 2 earned runs off of 8 hits in 3.2 innings. He would walk a batter and strike out 5. The win for the Giants would go to their first relief pitcher, Jarlin Garcia. Garcia allowed no earned runs in 2 full innings pitched as he would strike out 2. With this win, he's now 1-0. And the save for the Giants would go to their closer, Dominic Leone. Leone would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he struck out 2. This would be his very first save of the year. In the Giants batting lineup, their left fielder, Heliot Ramos, would end up going 2 for 3 as he had a run on the day. He was the only player on the Giants with more than 1 hit. With this win, the San Francisco Giants are 2-1. They are tied with the Colorado Rockies for the 2nd best record in the National League West. At this moment, they sit half a game behind the division-leading San Diego Padres. With this loss, the Miami Marlins are 1-2. That is the 4th best record in the National League East. Overall, they are trailing the division-leading New York Mets by 1.5 games. Taking a look at what's going on in Los Angeles, or in Anaheim, the LA Angels hosted the defending American League champs, Houston Astros. The Astros would end up beating the Angels 4-1 after the Angels scored the first run of the game. It would be a 2-run single from Alex Bregman that gave the Astros the lead as they virtually ran away with it. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Angels were led out by their starting pitcher, Jose Suarez. Suarez allowed 2 earned runs off of 2 hits in 4.1 innings. He would walk 4 and strike out 2 before getting pulled in the 5th inning. With this loss, Jose Suarez is 0-1. In the Angels batting lineup, nobody on the team would finish with more than 1 hit, as their third baseman, Jack Mayfield, would go 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run, as the Angels' lone run was Jack Mayfield's first home run of the season. On the winning end end of this matchup, the Houston Astros were led out by their starting pitcher, Jose Urquidy. He allowed 1 earned run off of 4 hits in 5 innings pitched as he would strike out 2. With this win, he's now 1-0 on the season, and the save would end up going to the Astros closer, Ryan Pressly. Pressly allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning as he would strike out 1 batter in that inning. With this save, that's his 2nd of the year. In the Astros batting lineup, their shortstop on the day, Jeremy Pena, will go 3 for 5 with a run. Their elite third baseman, Alex Bregman, will go 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. With this win, the Houston Astros are now 3-1. That is the best record in the American League West. They are sitting half a game ahead of the second-place Seattle Mariners at the moment. And with this loss, the Los Angeles Angels are 1-3. That is the worst record in the American League West. Overall, they are sitting 2 games behind the division-leading Houston Astros. Jumping out to what happened in Phoenix, 1 state away, the Arizona Diamondbacks would host the San Diego Padres. The Padres would beat the Diamondbacks 10-5 after scoring the first 10 runs of the game and seeing the Diamondbacks. They basically dominated the Diamondbacks for the most of the game as 4 of the 5 Diamondbacks runs came in the bottom of the 9th. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Diamondbacks were led out by their starting pitcher, Caleb Smith. Caleb Smith would allow 5 runs off of 2 hits in the 1 inning that he pitched as he walked 3 batters and struck out 2. With this loss, he's 0-1. In the Diamondbacks batting lineup, their designated hitter in this matchup, Cooper Hummel, would have 3 of their team's 5 RBIs as he would hit his first home run of the season. He would go 1 for 4. On the winning end of this matchup, the San Diego Padres were supposed to be led out by Blake Snell, but the start was actually made by Nabil Crismatt. Nabil Crismatt would go on to allow no earned runs off of 1 hit in 3 innings pitched as he walked 3 batters and struck out 4. The win for the Padres would go to their first relief pitcher on the day, Austin Adams. Adams would allow no earned runs in the 4th inning as he walked 3 batters and he struck out 1 batter for himself. With this win, he is now 1-0 on the season. In the Padres batting lineup, their designated hitter, Austin Nola, went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. And he was the only player on the team with more than 1 hit, as that would be how they fared. Not to mention that their outfielder, Jurickson Profar, did hit a grand slam as he had 4 RBIs on the day. With this win, the San Diego Padres are 3-1 on the season. That is currently the best record in the National League West. They are sitting half a game ahead of the 2-way tie of the Colorado Rockies and the San Francisco Giants. And of course, with this loss, the Arizona Diamondbacks are 1-3. That is the worst record in the National League West. At this moment, they are trailing the division-leading San Diego Padres by 2 games in the division. Last but not least, jumping out to Yankee Stadium, the New York Yankees hosted the Boston Red Sox, their all-time, long-time division rival. The Red Sox will go on to beat the Yankees 4-3. This game was tied at 3 going into the top of the 6th, where a solo home run from Bobby Dahlbeck would break the tie and eventually give this one to the Red Sox. The Yankees were led out by their starting pitcher, Jordan Montgomery. Montgomery allowed 3 earned runs off of 4 hits in 3.1 innings. He would walk a batter and strike out 4 before getting pulled in the 4th inning. The loss would go to the Yankees' first relief pitcher on the day, Clark Schmidt. Schmidt would allow 1 earned run in 2.2 innings pitched as he would finish the 4th, pitch the entire 5th and 6th innings as well. He would strike out a batter in that span, and with this loss, he's 0-1. And in the Yankees batting lineup, their elite right fielder, Aaron Judge, would go 2 for 5. Their elite designated hitter, Giancarlo Stanton, would go 3 for 5 with an RBI. On the winning end of this matchup, the Boston Red Sox were led out by their starting pitcher, Tanner Houck. Tanner Houck would allow 3 earned runs off of 6 hits in 3.1 innings. He would walk 3 batters and strike out 3 before getting pulled in the 4th inning. The win would go to the Red Sox' second relief pitcher on the day, Cutter Crawford. Cutter Crawford would allow no earned runs off of 4 hits in 2 innings as he struck out 3 on the day. With this win, he's now 1-1. The save would go to the Red Sox closer, Jake Diekman. Jake Diekman would allow no earned runs in the ninth inning as he struck out all three of the batters he faced. Before I get to that, they're in their batting lineup. No one on the team finished with more than one hit. Their first baseman, Bobby Dahlbeck, went 1 for 2 with a walk as he had an RBI and a run, as his solo home run was his first home run of the season. With this win, the Boston Red Sox are now 1-2. That is the fourth best record in the American League East. They are currently sitting 2 games behind the division-leading Tampa Bay Rays at this moment. With this loss, the New York Yankees are 2-1. They are tied with the Toronto Blue Jays for the second best record in the division, as the Yankees are trailing the division-leading Tampa Bay Rays by a game right now. So that is what the MLB is actually looking like as we get into today's matchups. Been looking at what's going on today because today is Monday. The lone primetime game in the MLB will be at 6:45 on FS1 as the 2-1 Philadelphia Phillies are going to host the 3-1 Mets. Ranger Suarez is going to make the start for the Philadelphia Phillies as Taijuan Walker makes the start for the Mets. Outside of that primetime game at 2:10 and Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, Carlos Hernandez in the Kansas City Royals are going to host Aaron Savali in the Cleveland Guardians. At 2:15, Dakota Hudson and the St. Louis Cardinals are going to host Zach Thompson in the Pittsburgh Pirates in Busch Stadium. At 3:05, Bruce Zimmerman and the Baltimore Orioles are going to host Adrian Hauser in the Milwaukee Brewers in Camden Yards in Baltimore. At 4:05, Taylor Hearn and the Texas Rangers are going to host Austin Gomber in the Colorado Rockies in Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. At 5:10, Matt Manning and the Detroit Tigers are going to host Michael Wacha and the Boston Red Sox in Comerica Park in Detroit. At 6:40, Luis Patino and the Tampa Bay Rays are going to host Paul Blackburn and the Oakland A's, as the Rays are the last remaining undefeated team in the MLB. At 7:05, the 2-1 New York Yankees are going to host the 2-1 Toronto Blue Jays. Jameson Taillon is going to start for the Yankees as Alek Manoah starts for the Toronto Blue Jays. At 7:20, Huascar Ynoa and the defending champs Atlanta Braves are going to host the Washington Nationals in Truist Park. At 7:40, Dylan Bundy and the Minnesota Twins are going to host Chris Flexen in the Seattle Mariners at Target Field. At 9:38, Michael Lorenzen and the Los Angeles Angels are going to host Elieser Hernandez and the Miami Marlins in Angel Stadium in Anaheim. And last but not least, at 9:45, Alex Wood and the San Francisco Giants are going to host Nick Martinez in the San Diego Padres in Oracle Park, as these are the 2 top teams within their own division. Taking a look at what's going on outside of the United States for a quick second, looking at what's going on with soccer coming off of a very contentious weekend. Starting off in England, the very top 2 teams within the Premier League faced off. Manchester City was able to draw with Liverpool. Man City scored the first goal of the match, and that was a goal from their elite Belgian midfielder, Kevin De Bruyne. Liverpool would even it up with a goal from their Portuguese forward, Diogo Jota. Manchester City would take the lead right before the half with a goal from their Brazilian striker Gabriel Jesus, and Liverpool would open up the second half with an equalizer from their elite Senegalese forward Sadio Mane, who scored on his 30th birthday yesterday in the 46th minute. With this 2-2 draw, Manchester City is still the top team in the Premier League to beat, as they sit 1 point ahead of Liverpool, and with this draw, Liverpool sits 11 points ahead of third place Chelsea. But this was a big moment for Liverpool to take advantage of Manchester City, and a good job by Manchester City of not letting Liverpool take over. And then looking out to see what happened in Spain, Barcelona will go on to beat Levante 3-2. After Levante, or looking at how this matchup would go, Levante would score the first goal of the game. Barca would open the second half with a goal from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and a goal from their elite midfielder Pedri. After Levante would even it up with a penalty kick in the 83rd minute, Barcelona's 92nd minute goal from Luke de Jong would give them the 3 points they needed to give them the second place spot in La Liga. They sit even with Sevilla as they played one less game than Sevilla, and right now they sit 12 points behind Real Madrid, as Barcelona has played one less game than Madrid at this point in time. That is what Spain is looking like as of right now. Moving through France, or just Lille, the reigning French champs, were able to draw with Angers 1-1 as Zagrova would give them their lone goal. With this draw, LOSC Lille now sits 7th in France. Looking at a team that's moving up, Olympique Marseille was able to beat Montpellier 2-0 as they would see 2 goals in the first half, give them their 3 points. They sit 12 points behind the French leading PSG, and they sit 3 points ahead of third place Stade Rennais. So that was a big win for Marseille, at least within that table. Taking a look at what's happening in Italy, the top team in the table, Milan, would end up drawing with Torino, which leaves the spot wide open for second place Inter to take over with a win. But right now, our AC Milan sits 2 points ahead of second place Inter with 1 more game played. But that was really the big matchup there. Taking also a look at what happened in Naples, Napoli would fall short to Fiorentina, as Fiorentina would see 2 of their goals come in the second half, the third of all their goals coming from Artur in the 72nd. With this win, Fiorentina now sits 7th in Italy as they sit 2 points behind 6th place Lazio. With this loss, Napoli now sits even with Inter with 1 more game played than Inter. As Napoli still sits 2 points behind first place Milan, as yesterday was an opportunity for them to overtake. And then, taking a look at what happened in Genoa, Lazio was able to beat Genoa 4-1, as they would see a hat trick come from their elite Italian striker Ciro Immobile. With this win, Lazio is 6th in Italy. They sit 2 points behind 5th place Roma at the moment. Roma was able to beat Salernitana as they scored 2 goals in the second half to come from behind and win. And then taking a look at what happened in the German Bundesliga, the third best team in the Bundesliga at this moment is now Leverkusen. They drew with VfL Bochum. They sit 8 points behind second place Dortmund as they're trying to hold on to a Champions League spot. The fourth best team in Germany right now is RB Leipzig after they beat TSG Hoffenheim yesterday. They would see their first goal coming from their French young superstar Christopher Nkunku. With this win, RB Leipzig is now sitting only 1 point behind third place Bayer Leverkusen as they're trying to hold on to a Champions League spot. But that is everything that I have for you today for Monday, April 11th, as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. Not to mention that we are also coming off of the Masters Championship, where an American was able to win it. It was Scottie Scheffler who actually won the Masters by 3 shots over Rory McIlroy. So congratulations to Scottie Scheffler. Today we are in quite an interesting spot of the year, as even with the NHL playoffs around the corner, I will get into those as the time comes. But I do want to thank everyone for listening to all hour and a half of this piece. I want to apologize for all the names that I butchered along the way, because of course it is hard. It is it's a really tough constant to maintain, but at the end of the day, I really love doing this. And once this episode is done, I will actually follow it up with a couple of elite individual pieces. But with that said, I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well. Congratulations to all the teams in the NBA that made it to the playoffs, and of course the teams that didn't make it as far. And once we are done with everything today, I will come back tomorrow with another episode of The Elite. And until then, I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well, and I will catch you with another episode. And until then, thanks for listening, and peace out. Thanks for listening to my piece.